One of the things that makes our pedestal oak so amazing is where it lives. You can't find it if you are walking around the gardens or even on the Marial Trail through the natural areas. You have to come down here along the bikeway and very close to the Stillwater River, where it almost blends in with the other trees and vegetation around it. Now, I know you know something about plants and what they need to grow and how they start life. I want you to think about how this seed, when it first germinated and started to grow, might have benefited from being so close to the water. We're going to take a few minutes and discover more about the first stage of an oak tree's life, the acorn. Acorns, as you might know, come from oak trees. These nuts have the seed of the oak tree inside them. When you take a minute to look at them, you can see two main parts. What most of us call the cap, with its wavy texture, and the nut, the smooth part underneath the cap. You might not realize other parts of the acorn have names too. The very top part of the acorn here is called the stalk. It's where the acorn was attached to the branch. The cap is part of the capsule and the hard outer shell of the nut. These structures help protect the seed inside. The pointed tip at the bottom of the acorn is left over from when the flower was pollinated and formed a seed. It's almost like the belly button of the acorn and shows that it grew inside a flower. Like baby mammals, including humans, grow inside their mothers. In order for an acorn to germinate and begin growing, it has to have the right conditions. Some bounce and roll into the right spot after they fall off the tree, but many are eaten by animals like blue jays, chipmunks, and deer. Luckily for acorns, they are popular food for some pretty good diggers who sometimes have a bad memory when it comes to hide and seek. Scientists have found that if a gray squirrel buries 100 acorns, it will only find and eat 25 of the acorns it buried. Think about the math for a second, and how many acorns stay buried? If you said 75 stay buried, you are right. Squirrels play an important role in planting the next generation of oak trees. Once acorns send out their first taproot and get anchored in the soil, the hard work of growing into a tree begins. The shoot will start reaching up through the ground, and once it pushes through the top of the soil and is above the ground, our acorn has made it to the next stage of life, a seedling. Our oak will be a seedling until it is 3 feet tall. That's as long as this yardstick that I'm holding up for you. Once it gets to this point, our oak is now considered a sapling. Oak saplings are still very young trees that have flexible trunks, and they don't produce flowers or acorns. Once a tree starts producing flowers, it has become a mature tree. Bur oak, like our oak tree, living in a forest, start producing acorns when they are 35 years old, and most produce the most acorns when they are 75 to 100 years old. Who says you can't do great things when you're old? Oak trees are typically very long-lived trees. Some can live to be 1,000 years old if the conditions are right. What about our pedestal oak right here? What observations can we make to help us figure out how old it is?